All right, everybody, welcome to the Pro Marketer podcast. This is your host, Nate Hagerty, again, here with you, and I am pretty freaking thrilled to have my friend Mitchell Levy here with us. He and I got to know each other a few months back through a mutual friend, Roger Connect. You should check out the episode I had with him pretty recently here on this podcast. He runs the Universal Accounting Center and teaches a bunch of accounting and tax practitioners on up-leveling their business and life. And he introduced me to Mitchell some months ago as somebody that I should get to know. And I have gotten to know him, and I like what I've gotten to know. And we've had multiple conversations on a variety of topics. I've actually been on his podcast already, and this is not like a he scratched my back, I scratch his back type deal. The reason why we're both swapping this is because I think we actually just really enjoy each other. And I think you'll understand as we talk why that's the case, because this guy knows what he's doing, and he is the kind of person that I think can bring a lot of value to those who want to serve and lead with their values. So his whole thing is credibility. And he will talk about that, and I'm going to ask him about that. And we're going to get a little nitty-gritty about that. But he is an international best-selling author of over 60 books. He's an executive coach at Marshall Goldsmith's 100 Coaches, and has interviewed many, many, many thought leaders on credibility. He actually ended up publishing another book on those findings, and it was a 7-country international best-selling book. So he's delivered a couple TEDx courses that have gotten some strong reach, and he has created a assessment and a variety of tools for leaders who want to lead with their values. Now, on top of that, he created 20 businesses in Silicon Valley, including 4 publishing companies that have published over 750 books. He sat on the board of public companies. He is happily married for 30, how many years?
It's now 33.
33 years. And he spent a lot of time in Europe, which I've been there, but he would do that every year. Anyway, so the man is accomplished. He's a globetrotter. He's friends with people in high places. He knows what credibility is all about. And I'm honored to have him share a little bit for us here in the ProMarketer, TaxProMarketer, Advisor ProMarketer universe about credibility. So, Mitchell, my friend.
I'm excited to be here. What a beautiful intro. Thank you, Nate.
Well, yeah. Hey, brother. It's all you. So, thank you again for this time, and tell me about credibility. It's a big term. It's something that people throw around without thought, because we all seem to have some sense of what it means, as in trustworthiness, as in accomplishment, but there's more to it, I think. So tell me about that.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. It was in 2019 when I rebranded myself Global Credibility Expert. And there were reasons to do that, because I had transferred my publishing business and did a lot on thought leadership.
Great non-compete, right? Something like that. Non-disclosure, non-compete, and it forces a shift. Is that right?
No, I'm not tracking. Try that again.
When you transferred your company, did you sign an agreement that you wouldn't compete with them for what you transferred?
Oh,
that sort of thing?
Got it. No, not transferred, transitioned.
Transitioned. Okay.
What happened was I was serving in 2017, I was serving authors who would write their own books. And I was more of a traditional company, a little bit of, sometimes we charged, sometimes we didn't. And by the time 2017 came along, what I realized is the authors who would write their own books are not the authors I wanted to work with. I wanted to work with authors where they were so busy, so crazily busy on stuff that they were doing, that we would actually help co-create the book for them, and then they would use the book in their business.
There you go. No, that's a whole different audience, isn't it?
It's a completely different audience. So I created a writing school in 2018. We picked up 10 clients, And that's when I got to 2019. I'm like, I got to change my brand. So I created the brand. I actually flew. This is what I do now for other people, but I actually flew to Miami for a 2-day branding boot camp and came up with Global Credibility Expert.
There you go.
It's sort of like the t-shirt. I flew to Miami and all I got out of it were these 3 words. Okay. Right. And 2 months later, I had a Napoleon Hill moment. I kind of woke up and thought, hey, if I interview 500 thought leaders on credibility, I'd have a book. And so that's what I did.
Think and grow credible.
Think and grow. Yeah. Think and grow credible. Ooh.
No,
it's not really, it actually is. Actually, that is great title. Because what ultimately needs to happen, what ultimately needs to happen is what people want is they just want to show their credibility.
Yeah.
Showing your credibility is not just a degree you got on the wall.
Yeah.
And so in the interviews, so I interviewed 500 people between 2019 and 2020. I did as you mentioned, I did the TEDx, which was the 28th most popular. I created the book, Credibility Nation, have a membership community called Credibility Nation. I became fine-tune the superpower of clarity, of letting people create I call it a CPOP, their customer point of possibilities. But ultimately what happened is I picked up a focus in life I didn't have before. I always thought my purpose in life was, well, start companies, make money, have a family. For 22 years, we'd rent a house in Europe for a month in the summertime and invite friends and family.
Where do you go? What's your favorite spot there?
Oh, well, it depends on who you ask.
Portugal?
And we did go to Portugal one year, Spain one year. Our favorites will be, if you ask my wife and me from a friendly perspective, Ireland. The friendliest people in the world is being in a local city, not necessarily Dublin, but being in a local city and just adopting a pub for a month, coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. And
then I might lean towards Italy. So I go back and forth between Italy and Spain.
So beautiful.
Oh, yeah. It's the thing that surprised me most as a tourist. I've gone to Rome a number of times, but when you go to Rome as a tourist for like 2, 3, 4 days, it's hot and dirty. When you go there for a month and you start seeing the same shop owners and the same people, and it's a different experience living local-like, right?
My wife and I stopped in Italy for a week on our way to adopt our first children because we knew our life would forever change. And we stopped in the Amalfi Coast, and it was still the trip that we talk about forever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, so I got us distracted.
Oh, no, that's all right. I'll get us back. I'm keeping track. I'm
Summertime. Okay, so you rebranded and you interviewed these 500 thought leaders. And what were your findings?
I'm going to do findings. Let me just finish this one thought, and then we'll come back to finding. Okay, I now have a big life purpose.
Bring it.
And I'm going to share it on the screen. It's to tip the scale between those in the world that are credible, and I call the opposite of credible dubious. So
all right, so if you're listening in your earbuds right now, he showed a big scale of dubious nation on one side, very heavy, and credibility nation on the other, and tip those scales back, because dubiousness and lack of trust is pretty endemic right now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And that leads into
even, dare I say, for CPAs and tax practitioners. And I would especially say those of you who are listening who are still engaging in some of the high pressure pitch hype tactics, that grows stale pretty fast. And those kinds of appeals end up sinking you. They're a sugar high that doesn't last. But most tax practitioners do not understand that inherently and haven't fallen prey yet to those coaches who advise that kind of methodology. But that is a big deal in the marketplace these days, that the hype artists and the sharks who have overpromised, underdelivered, and created resistance everywhere.
We're going to say those people fall into this category of dubiousness. Now, Nate, the reason I came up with the word dubious is I knew when I created Credibility Nation that if we're going to create a movement focused around us being more credible, the TED Talk, by the way, is we are losing our humanity, and I'm tired of watching it happen.
Amen.
And that exactly. And that is what being credible is all about. So if you're going to create a credibility nation, you need a arch rival. I wanted something that was potentially a little bit fun, not entirely bad. It's not the same to me as heaven and hell, black or white, red or blue, right? It's not quite the same because maybe you never do it, but I think all of us do a little bit of dubiousness every day.
Cynicism.
And it's whether when you hear the 10 values of credibility, it is very easy to do things which are dubious. And the question is, do you self-correct, or do you have accountability partners who sort of said, you know, what you did was a little bit dubious, or they're not going to use those words directly, but
sketchy. Yes.
Yeah, it depends. It's in some cases, yes. Yeah, hardball tactics are typically dubious. Doing things like, and people do this all the time, coming late to meetings. That's kind of dubious. Even with it, now sometimes they're great excuses, but if you come to late to every meeting, that's kind of a dubious tactic. Not preparing, not showing the respect for somebody else by not preparing ahead of time to a meeting you're having with a client, to me, that's a dubious tactic. Not sharing, like, for instance, one of the things you did at the beginning of this episode, you spread some cred dust. Cred dust is a word that came out of the interviews. It's when you share the ideas, thoughts, and actions of somebody else. And you mentioned the power of our connector, which was Roger Connect. And you spread a little bit and sprinkled a little bit of cred dust on Roger Connect, right? That's a positive thing. Dubiousness is somebody tells you something and you borrow that idea without giving them credit. Right? So we all do things which are dubious. Now, what happens if you borrowed somebody's idea and you made it your own, and then somebody said, you know, by the way, that's from so-and-so's book, or that is something you should, next time you say that, you should reference the person because that's something they have copyrighted. At that stage, the next time you say it, if you reference the person, you did something dubious, but you're not really a dubious person. But the next time you reference it, if you still reference it and take ownership for it, you're now moving further and further into the dubious camp. Does that make sense?
I want to hear some of these findings. And if you will, Mitchell, I'd like to try to focus them related to an industry and a practice area that, of course, you know where I'm going here. My audience, CPAs and tax practitioners, advisors, financial planners, etc. Those who are in the trenches, who consider themselves in the financial trenches, who consider themselves to already carry great levels of inherent credibility because of either initials after their name or a function that they serve in the lives of their clients, intermediary status between client and the government entity, etc. But I think there are ways that CPAs and tax practitioners squander and or don't understand, perhaps, or they just don't leverage the credibility that they could because of a lack of knowledge or a lack of practice and a lack of perhaps advice. So hit me. So let's say I'm, John Jones CPA. I've got a $1 million bookkeeping and tax practice with a couple hundred clients, got a small staff. I'm fat and happy, but I want to grow. So this might be taking you in a different direction than where I might have initially asked. But what I'm asking is, talk to me about what are the things that I should be thinking about to build my credibility to take me to the new place that I want to go. As somebody who already believes that I've got a ton of credibility because I'm a CPA, doggone it.
So first, yeah, you've got like 5 or 6 different questions. So let me answer at least
right.
one or
I
two
do,
of them.
and I apologize. That's
no, that's okay. That's perfect. No, that's perfect. Given that it's who you are, and given you're thinking this way, your audience.
I'm bad podcast host. You're totally right.
You're that guy, and that's okay. So first, let me give you the definition of credibility, and then I'll give you a outcome or a big finding because you keep saying they feel they're credible because they have their initials at the end of their word. So I'll talk about those two and then we'll take it from there. Credibility is the quality in which you're trusted, known, and liked. Or if you do your job right, that you're trusted, known, and loved. And there are 10 values associated with that. And those are, you could take a look at the TED Talk. You could take a look at my book. I talk about them all the time.
We'll put all those links in the show notes. Yes.
Yeah. And we could go through the details of each of those. But what I'm going to say is it's when people first get introduced to you, they have to trust you enough to want to get to know you. Now, potentially getting a recommendation or just seeing those letters at the back of your name might be enough for them to get to know you. As they're getting to know you, then they're going through, well, who is this person really? And how do they show up and what do they do? And that's when they're going to build upon the trust and build upon the like. And what's interesting to me is let's put a stake on, we'll just do it. How do you build your business? The best way to build your business is having those stakeholders, not just your employees who love you, but your clients who love you and share you with their friends. Now, the thing is, trust, know, and like, we're not taught in school, and looking at the CPA curriculum, we're not taught to be likable. We're not taught to demonstrate things that we share each other. The best referral mechanism, the best mechanism for picking up and growing your business is people who already trust, know, and love you, those people sharing you. It's not just through endorsements. It's they're actively going out and letting people in their network know, hey, you need to talk to this person because, or you need to hire this firm because.
Yes.
And that absolutely is more important than many other things. And what I'm going to say, so I'll drop one bomb and then we could talk about it from there. What came out of the interviews is the PhD in the School of Hard Knocks beats the PhD every time. And so it is what you do with your clients and how you've delivered over time, how many clients you served, how you've served them, and their endorsements of you that far outweigh the fact that you went to schooling and you got these 3 letters in the back of your name.
Right. And I think as practitioners, accountants and tax practitioners, we are so oriented around, for instance, the value that we bring in the function of our work, that we obsess over that and don't realize that it's some of these other seemingly ancillary components of how we show up as to our clients that more distinctly determine the outcomes in our business and client relationships. In fact, I was looking at your stuff and it really popped to me how you talk about how it's wrong to lead with the value proposition. And I want to hear you talk about that because that's a very contrary take to most business thought these days. Lead with value. Lead with value.
Oh, you should lead with
that.
No. So Nate, you absolutely need to lead with value, but you don't lead with the value proposition.
Okay.
Those are two different words.
I think I pick up what you're laying down, but let's presume that perhaps not everybody does. I think I do. I could be wrong.
No, we'll see. So there's a definition associated with the value proposition. There's a definition associated with your 30-second elevator pitch.
ROI.
And in that definition, it typically, or the way it's structured, the first words out of your mouth is we deliver or I serve. So I or we are the first words that come out of your value proposition or your elevator pitch. And your prospect doesn't care about you. They care about what you're going to do for them. Right? Just being clear on that. So yes, I actually want you to start with value, Now, the best way you could grow your business, the best way you could deliver value when you're in front of somebody, or even when you're asynchronous, when somebody goes to your website, your LinkedIn profile, the best way you could deliver value is to make it very easy, very quickly, whether or not you play in the space that they have an issue in, they have a problem in. And so what I recommend is that you use a concept that came out of the interviews. And the way I call it, it is a way in which you could express who do you serve and how do you serve them in 10 words or less. So who do you serve and how do you serve them in 10 words or less? And the name that I've given to that is CPOP. And it stands for Customer Point of Possibilities. It's a way of articulating that. And so I will share mine so you could see it. So if somebody said, hey, Mitchell, what do you do? Well, typically, I'm not going to say I work with or I serve because I don't want them to think I'm selling them something. What I might typically say is clients typically attracted to me, leaders living their values and making a difference.
Leaders
Now,
living their values and making a difference.
Leaders living their values, making a difference. Now, if you look at my social media, if you look at my web pages, they all reinforce this. Think of this as the playground I play in. Think of this as the frequency in which I travel through life.
Okay, so let me run a few ideas by you. And
okay,
this is a inherently obtuse exercise because these are hypotheticals. So
okay,
let me posit to you. I'm thinking about a few clients who might be listening to this, and I want to posit to you different concepts. So a client who serves small business owners in their local market area with accounting. I would say for business leaders serving their communities, helping them, help me here, helping them save money on their taxes to be more powerful in their day-to-day life.
I could definitely help you. So first of all, I wouldn't do serving.
This is out of my butt, and it's I feel I'm embarrassed because I'm a copywriter. So
no, it's hard because first of all, you'd start with as finite of an audience as you can.
Okay.
Right. So if do you want to work on yours or should we work on this hypothetical?
That might be better.
All right. So Nate, who do you serve in general? Who is it? Who is that perfect client for you?
Independent accounting and tax practitioners care about serving their clients and wanting to grow.
All right. So independent accounting and
too on the nose, right? Is it too on the nose?
No, I love that. I actually want to make it smaller. So is there could you say CPAs or can you say tax? Is there a global bucket for all of that?
Accountants is the biggest global bucket, but carries all kinds of different directions.
Okay. And what do you do with that?
Different ways.
So what is it that you do? What is it that what is the pain point they're experiencing or what is the aspiration point that you're bringing them to?
We help them get more clients and form stronger relationships with the ones they already have without any extra effort on their part.
Interesting. Okay.
So, and we do it in a long-term, long-lasting kind of way, not a sugar high of.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about that. What does that mean? What do you do?
What that means is we create for them a relationship with their list that they've probably not experienced before through our email marketing. We build for them an online marketing machine that isn't subject to the vicissitudes of algorithmic change because we do things by the book and we do the hard work that a lot of people aren't willing to do in terms of the back end of their systems, the interconnectivity of their various online platforms, the optimizations, it's just all the technical stuff that I'm not going into right now. And then we primarily help them hone and specify their target client and get clear on that and find more of them for them.
Got it. Love that. Just so you know, you said it in the first 3 seconds, but I will share it in chat. I'll share it also at the same time because I'm a visual person. So I just want you to see it.
All right.
And kind of what I think your CPOP, what I heard you say, I'm not a big fan always of using two, but I like accounting and tax professionals growing their biz.
Yeah.
And just stopping. So let me pretend I'm you for a second. I'm not as handsome as you, but let me pretend I'm you for a second.
It's true.
And you're standing in front of a room and you go, types of clients typically attracted to me, accounting and tax professionals growing their biz. Or you could say business, depending on, right? So, and you drop the mic. What happens next if you have either someone in the room who's a referral partner or a prospect is going, well, that's what everyone does. Tell me more. Well, we do 3 things. We're going to help you build your list. We're going to help create a marketing machine that will last the test of time as the companies change their algorithms. And we're going to help you fine tune and target the audience you go after so that you get more and more focused on who you serve.
Yep.
Like, and then all of a sudden they've asked you for that. The first time I said I or we is part of the tell me more.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And when you, okay, well, good. So when you step in back,
I see that progression where you drop a little bit of a Trojan horse at them and invite them. Well, that's perhaps the wrong analogy, but you drop a curiosity point that leads them to actually ask for the information that you might otherwise be too forthcoming.
So what's interesting is the campaign you're going to do for existing clients, Nate, is you're going to go to your existing clients and say, hey, listen, we've helped you grow your biz. Who are your friends would you like us to help as well? Kind of simple.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
These are the 3 things we're doing. We have more capacity. We'd like to support. Right. And you make it what most people don't do, as important as the referral business is. Most people don't make it easy to be referred. Mm-hmm. And by the way, there are many of you in the marketplace. There's nobody that's like you and who you are, but there are many people who pretend.
Sure.
And I'd want to be able to ensure that you're asynchronous presence. So when I look at you on social media, when I look at your website, I want you to reinforce this CPOP and how you serve. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm doing that, you're building incremental credibility. You asked me up front, what is the best way that an accounting or tax professional firm can grow their business? It's to show up credibly, and it credibly does not mean 3 letters at the back of the name. Credibly means that you've got a fine-tuned focus of who you serve, and that thing that you serve, that person that you serve, when I look at you when you're not in the room, you reinforce that you're an expert at who you are and what you do. You've got that PhD in the School of Hard Knocks that show up asynchronously, because if I'm going to recommend you, Nate, to my tax professional or my CPA, I want to make sure that I'm going to check you out first online. And then I'm going to go, oh, wait, Nate, I've been on his show. He's been on mine. He's an awesome guy. And his firm's pretty cool. I think you should use his services or at least check him out. And then I'm going to send you. If your website and your social presence does not reinforce that, I'm not going to recommend you.
Right. No, amen. I mean, that's what we do for our clients, is actually create that for them, even if they're not good at it themselves. So.
Well, they shouldn't be. They're good at other things.
It's not easy. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So what do you think? Do you like accounting and tax professionals growing their biz? It's pretty simple. How's that feel for you?
Yeah. And I think it is a little bit of a curiosity bomb for people who would want to hear more. I like that progression because I like it. So I'm a marketer, and I'm always thinking about how relationships are built, because that's what marketing is at its core, is the building of relationships in an asynchronous or scaled fashion, however you want to put it. And I like a progression. I don't like proposing marriage on the first date. I think that is super weird, and people do that all the time and in business, and they won't do it in the dating pool, but they'll do it in business.
Ooh, I'm going to add one more to that. Do you mind?
Sure.
Accounting and tax professionals credibly growing their business.
There you go.
Because that, to me, there are very few people like you that I'd add that word to.
Okay.
Right? Because when you talked about the three things you do, that's kind of the way you're focusing on helping. You're not doing the quick fix. You're not doing the marketing techniques, which are dubious. You're actually helping to use the other analogy, you're helping them to build their fishing pole, to build the seat that they sit in, to get the right bait. Bait wasn't really the right word, but to get the right bait.
The right critter. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, that is the right word. You're actually creating a environment that they live in and grow, as opposed to a one-off fix that doesn't last a test of time.
Yeah, that's exactly what we care about.
That's why I like the word credibly. Accounting and tax professionals credibly growing their business. I think business is better than biz. As much as I like the lack of two less syllables.
Sure.
Business feels more comfortable to me.
Yep. All right, I receive it. So, Mitchell, there are tax and accounting practitioners, professionals who are credibly growing their business, and they don't realize all that they could be doing in order to do so. And aside from building an online marketing platform and machine like we do, I believe they need to have some time with you. I believe that they should get some focused input from you related to how they might shift their dealings, even in person with clients, but also asynchronously. So how would they find you? What would be the first step for them to connect to you? Besides LinkedIn, because you've got, 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. What's the best way to dive into the Mitchell Levy credibility world?
So, I should have said this ahead of time. I typically pronounce my last name Levy.
Oh my goodness. I did not even know that we talked so much. I apologize.
It wasn't important.
Yeah, but it is.
It's important when it comes. It's important when it comes out, but it just at the beginning of the show, it wasn't important. It's just this.
Well, I'm going to correct you now. I typically pronounce my name Hagerty.
Oh, and I always get that wrong. I'm not good at it, but I'll do my best. Right?
I'm just throwing it back.
I love that. Yeah, no, and that, by the way, is being credible. Living your life credible is recognizing that you do things which are dubious, and it's not necessarily bad. I call it, Nate, cred crud. Cred crud are those things you do that hurt your credibility a little bit, like bad copyright at the bottom of your webpage, or constantly pronouncing somebody's name wrong.
Yeah,
or
I hurt my credibility with you, didn't I?
No, not at all. If you did it next time and I corrected you and then did it the third time, then you'd lose credibility. Okay. But it's not, as I mentioned, it's not really that important. But what does happen with cred crud is the more you do it, like if you say, hey, Mitchell, I'm going to make sure I give you a call next week, but then you don't call. Or then it's just
and there's you have some info on this at credcrud.com.
I do it that. Well, it's because I want that,
which I was looking at earlier.
I want that to jump into the dictionary. Anyhow, what I thought I'd say for those who want to reach out, it's just my name, MitchellLevy.com. You can book time on the calendar, and we could absolutely have a conversation. It'll link towards, we've got something called the Ultimate Credibility Bootcamp, which is just ultimatecredibilitybootcamp.com. That is 2 days intensive that will help you first articulate your purpose, your CPOP, and then align yourself both on and offline with it. And one of the things that's just new, Nate, I'm just throwing that into the chat so it wouldn't be on any of our sheets. I encourage people to take the CPOP course, that Customer Pointed Possibilities course. And at the end of it, we have a simple CTA. The call to action at the end of that is, listen, if you want a half hour with me, where I turn on the recording and I take a look at how you show up, both synchronously and asynchronously. In some cases, I could give you a couple months worth of work in that half hour, because I've done this now close to 1,000 times, or over 1,000 times actually. And it's not about my view of the world, although it is my point of view. It's about, you need to tell me who you are, i.e. your CPOP. And then I say, well, this is how I view you based on what you told me you were. And it is surprising how many people don't reinforce their credibility, that they have areas of crud throughout their websites and social media and actually their actions. And there are these subtle things that you do that if you actually start aligning them all together, all of a sudden magic's going to happen. And people will refer you and business will start growing. And you're like, well, why did that happen? And the point is, you're just showing up to the situation. You show up to life more credibly.
I love that. I can think of a bunch of our clients that would benefit from this sort of engagement. So thank you, Mitchell Levy, for
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed, but I can take it. Anyway, very grateful for this. I think this is a good taster, and I hope that as people heard his process with me, that I should have said this while we were doing it, that you thought about your own practice and your own business as we did it, so that it wasn't just a mere voyeurism exercise on somebody else's process, but in fact was useful for you. That's my goal here with these podcast episodes, is to offer real value to our community. And I am so thankful, Mitchell, that you took the time to do this. And I highly recommend everybody go and book a time with Mitchell at mitchelllevy.com and check out the Ultimate Credibility Bootcamp. Go to creddust.com or crud.com to have a little fun and see what might be tripping you up. Take his CPOP assessment. There's just a lot of great resources that he's bringing. Do not assume that because you are in the trenches and you are the port in the financial storm for your clients that you don't have work to do as it relates to building your credibility. I am very aware now that there's some things I need to do. So we can be on this journey together. So anyway, Mitchell, thank you for your time. And once again, any final words before I say goodbye?
Yeah, it's one of those things that you'll hear me say often, and I'm not going to use the word work. I'm going to use the word play. I mean, if you're doing what you love, you're playing all the time. So I ended my first TEDx, if work equals play, then you play all the time. I ended my second TEDx, and this is what I like to end this chat with. Credibility is a journey. It's not a destination. So it's a journey that you should live on for the rest of your life. And it's not just a work thing. It is a life thing. Everything you do, you want to show up in such a way where you are a servant leader, that people love you for who you are and what you do. And you're hanging around the right people and you're doing the right thing. You have the intent and commitment typically to do the right thing to those people you're engaging with. And it just truthfully, it makes life that much more fun if your purpose is one in which you're serving it with those that are around you each and every day. So credibility is a journey, not a destination.
Mitchell Levy, I salute you. mitchelllevy.com. Go dive in. Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks, Nate.